Now the first one is, how can we help someone who is dying? As Padmasambhava said, abandon grasping, yearning, attachment. In the Tibetan Book of Living Dying, it's chapter 11. Is the heart advice for helping the dying. It is the emotional and practical care that we provide to help a dying person. What is the most important thing when we come to help someone in need is to give our love. Like establish warm, genuine sense to connect with the dying person. So the dying person feels safe, bringing up all things they really want to talk about, encouraging to express their thoughts, fears, emotions about dying and death. At the same time, treat the dying person as a living person. There's so much you can learn from someone who's approaching death. If the dying feels less of a burden, then they can give something back to you, and you don't have to try to fix their problems. I've said in Tibetan, always when you're with a dying person, dwell on what they've accomplished and done well. Help them to feel as constructive, as happy, as positive about their lives. Concentrate on their virtue and not their failings. People who are dying are frequently extremely vulnerable and to guilt, regret, and depression. Allow the person to express these freely, listen to the person and acknowledge what he or she says. Especially remind the person that the pain and suffering are not all that he or she is. And find the most skillful and sensitive way to inspire the person and give him or her the hope. So rather than dwelling on his or her mistakes, the person can die in a more peaceful frame of mind. Encourage the dying person that now is the time for reconciliation with friends and relatives and clear the heart of all hatred and grudges. Not everyone believes in the formal religion, but I think nearly everyone believes in the forgiveness. You can be of immeasurable help to the dying by enabling them to see as they approach death is the time for reconciliation, reckoning. All religions stress the power of forgiveness, and this power is never more necessary, no more deeply felt than when someone is dying. Through forgiving and being forgiven, we purify ourselves of the darkness of what we have done and prepare ourselves more completely for the journey through death. Through your spiritual practice, when you help, you can transform the environment and inspire sacred feelings like love, compassion, devotion. You can inspire those things in the dying person's mind at the moment of death. How can we help a frightened person who has no spiritual belief? Is that gaze into their eyes with love and confidence and be clear, invoke the presence of the Buddhas, reassure them, and also if they're Christian practice, invoke the presence of Christ or whatever their religion or faith may be. Otherwise, if there is none, you can invoke the embodiment of enlightenment, embodiment of truth. You understand? And invoke the presence of the Buddhas and reassure them, give them an essential teaching, from your heart. Sometimes they're quite willing to hear at the moment of death. Now, what is most important thing when we come to help someone in need, especially at the moment of death, also in life, is our love. With all our heart, without any condition, as free as possible without attachment, you see, the unconditional love. If you're a spiritual practitioner, if you have realized compassion or devotion to the Master and the Enlightened Beings, or you have done meditation, particularly if you really realize the nature of mind and stabilize through your spiritual practice and integrate it in our everyday life, then the love that we have to give can only be deeper. You got it? Because it comes from a deeper source, from our innermost being, the heart of our enlightened nature. It has the special power to free us or someone else who is dying. Free them of their fear. So this kind of love, beyond all attachment, is like a divine love. It is the love of all the Buddhas. In the state, without contriving or even thinking, we can feel the presence of all the Buddhas effortlessly. We can really invoke, as we care for loving person, we invoke our practice, invoke the Buddhas. Like, for example, I really invoke my masters, and really they're even more available, really powerful. It is as if we become the ambassador, their representative, and our love backed by their love, infused with their blessings and compassion. Love that inspires, the love that springs truly from the nature mind is so blessed that it has the power to dispel the fear of the unknown and to give refuge from anxiety, to grant us serenity and peace, and to bring inspiration in death and beyond. As we will discover for ourselves, the more we can embody this spiritual practice, and more natural and more effective we will be when helping people and in giving spiritual care for those who are in need of help. Very much most important is your presence, your loving presence. Because it is how we are, our being, our presence, that's so much more important than what we say or do. Of course, what we say or do matter, but then more how you are. You understand? That's how we can help someone to abandon grasping, yearning, and attachment, which is to help them to let go of the attachment and aversion. You see, at the moment of death. And then next is the great master Padmasambhava. He said, you see, the next is what he said is very much, you see, enter undistracted into the clear awareness of teaching. Of course, in the Tibetan tradition, very much, you really actually, first thing is let go of attachment and aversion. You see, it's very much one thing is to have loving presence of your spiritual friends. When you practice together, with my students, other friends, Dharma brothers, sisters come and practice, and it's extraordinarily inspiring. In fact, as we speak, father of a very close student and friend of mine died recently in Ireland, and they're now in Dzogchen Bera, where we have a kind of a hospice, respite center. They have the body there, and then they're doing practice, and it's so inspiring, really. Not only inspiring, I think, for the dying who's a practitioner, but also for the living relatives, a way to really help them to actually, really, they can do something to mourn together, to, in a sense, of celebrate together. You got it? So the main thing is if you have the presence of your master, it's one of the best, really the best. But what I do is I prepare a whole teaching, many, many different teachings, the teaching of other masters for guiding at the moment of death. I prepare really very good video, several videos, which then when they watch and supported by their spiritual friends do that, it's an incredible impact. And bring them to the nature mind, introduction to nature mind again and again at the moment of death. It's very inspiring. The most important thing is the moment of death is nature mind, if you're really a spiritual practitioner who recognize. Otherwise, very much invoking the Buddhas with devotion and generating compassion and love. You understand? Very much. And you see, ultimately, most important is the nature of mind. But if you have not completely realized nature mind, the next thing is faith. Faith, faith. The faith, by the way, in Buddhism, faith is not blind faith. It's called, in Tibetan, it's called Junchen Dandembe Tepa. Means faith based on reason. Like, for example, with my masters, really, when I am with them, through their teaching and through their being, as the communicate truth of the nature mind to me, and I have just really explained them directly. And so much so that this memory of their blessing and their presence remains so warmly in my heart and mind that whenever I practice, I can invoke that and they come And I can feel their presence, and they're never separate from me. And it's so amazing when you can do that, when you experience that, when you're evidence of that, and then when you invoke that. You see, so at the moment of death, really, I will. For example, if you ask me, what are you going to do at the moment of death? First of all, if I die, I want to die teaching first. My students, they die. That's the best. And then myself, I invoke the embodiment of truth for me, which is the Padmasambhava. Guru Rinpoche was the embodiment of it. See, all the masters, I invoke him, the sky of you. And then, inspired by him, I rest in the nature of mind and invoke not only Guru Rinpoche, but all my masters. The faith is so important, because you have faith. Then you see, it's so simple. People who have no faith are troubled at the moment of death. Faith, I know even Christian practitioners, like, when they have faith, that I'm going back to my Maker, it gives them such a, simplicity. But also, again, I just want to caution you. Everybody thinks everybody's going to heaven. Yeah, it might not be that simple. So you better take care of, Doesn't mean just you die, you all go to heaven, but you have to live, You have to really live a good life, In Buddhism, we have the karma. We have to take care of our actions, cause and effect. They're infallible. We have to take care of. In Christianity, it's the God, the providence. Because whatever you do is very much, in accordance with the fear of God, with the love of God. You understand?